1. e4, Robert James Fischer opens with the king's pawn, choosing a direct and aggressive path against a player renowned for his legendary defensive skills and solid style. 1. c6, the future world champion, Tigran Petrosian, responds with his beloved Caro Kann defense, a fortress-like opening designed to achieve a solid, safe position before slowly outmaneuvering the opponent. 2. d4, Fischer immediately seizes the center with his pawns, establishing a classical space advantage and preparing for a powerful and harmonious development of his pieces. 2. d5, the thematic counterstrike. Petrosian challenges White's central control, creating the characteristic solid pawn structure of the Caro Kann and preparing for a long strategic battle. 3. nc3, Fischer continues with the main line, developing his knight to its most active square and putting immediate pressure on Black's central pawn, steering the game into the main theoretical lines. 3. dex4, the most common and principled reply. Petrosian releases the central tension, accepting a slight space disadvantage in exchange for a sound pawn structure and easy development. 4. nex4, Fischer recaptures with the knight, which now occupies a powerful central outpost. From here, it will exert a strong influence on the entire board and lead White's strategic operations. 4. nd7, the Karpov variation. Petrosian chooses one of the most solid and respected lines, preparing to challenge the White knight with ngf6 without allowing his pawn structure to be damaged. 5. nf3, a logical and powerful developing move. Fischer brings another knight into the game, increases his control over the center, and prepares for rapid kingside castling. 5. ngf6, Petrosian immediately challenges the powerful White knight, aiming to trade pieces and relieve some of the central pressure, a key idea of his solid, prophylactic style. 6. nxf6+, Fischer willingly trades knights, a deep strategic decision. While this simplifies the position, it also opens the g-file and gives him a clearer path to build an attack. 6. nxf6, the natural recapture. Petrosian develops another piece and solidifies his central control. The position is roughly equal, but the strategic battle is just beginning. 7. bc4, a very aggressive and purposeful developing move. Fischer places his bishop on its most dangerous diagonal, from where it eyes the weak f7 pawn and prepares for an attack. 7. bf5, Petrosian develops his good bishop outside the pawn chain before it can be trapped. This is a key idea in the Caro Kann, ensuring all his pieces can participate in the game. 8. qe2, an excellent multi-purpose queen move. Fischer prepares to connect his rooks, supports his central pawns, and keeps the option of castling to either side of the board. 8. e6, the necessary solidifying move. Petrosian creates a solid pawn chain, blunts the scope of the dangerous White bishop, and prepares to complete his own development. 9. bg5, Fischer develops his final minor piece with a pin, putting pressure on Black's defensive setup and preparing to create tactical complications on the kingside. 9. bg4, Petrosian responds with a counterpin, creating a complex and symmetrical tactical situation in the center. Both sides are now playing with fire. 10. the gauntlet is thrown. Fischer castles on the queenside, a declaration of all-out war. The game now becomes a thrilling race to see whose attack against the enemy king will land first. 10. b7, a solid and necessary developing move. Petrosian prepares to castle and gets his king out of the center before the inevitable pawn storms begin on both wings. 11. h3, a very useful pawn move. Fischer challenges the pinning bishop, forcing Petrosian to make a decision and gaining a valuable tempo for his own attacking plans. 11. bxf3, Petrosian decides to release the tension by trading his bishop for the knight. This gives Fischer the long-term advantage of the bishop pair, which will become a decisive factor. 12. qxf3, the recapture brings the queen to a more active square. Fischer's two bishops now stand ready to dominate the open lines that will surely appear. 12. nd5, Petrosian immediately challenges White's bishop, a classic strategy against the bishop pair. He wants to trade pieces and keep the position as closed as possible. 13. b7, Fischer obliges, trading one of his bishops but only to bring his queen to an even more powerful and centralized square after the recapture. 13. c7, the recapture is forced. Petrosian's position is still incredibly solid, a testament to his defensive genius, but Fischer's long-term pressure is slowly building. 14. KB1, a crucial prophylactic move, standard in opposite-side castling positions. Fischer moves his king to a safer square, away from any potential checks on the c-file. 14. RD8, Petrosian centralizes his rook, preparing to contest the open d-file and solidifying his control over the center of the board. 15. QE4, Fischer repositions his queen to a superior square. From e4, it controls key diagonals, supports the center, and prepares to join a future attack. 15. B5, the counterattack begins. Petrosian launches his own pawn storm on the queenside, a necessary and correct plan to create threats against the white king. 16. BD3, the bishop retreats to a safer and more flexible square, from where it still controls key squares and prepares to meet black's queenside ambitions. 16. A5, Petrosian continues his queenside expansion, preparing to open more lines and overwhelm the white king's defenses before Fischer's own attack can materialize. 17. C3, a fine defensive and strategic move. Fischer creates a solid pawn barrier, blunting the force of black's attack and preparing to create a passed pawn of his own. 17. QD6, a clever queen maneuver. Petrosian puts more pressure on the queenside and prepares to support the final, decisive pawn break with b4. 18. G3, an important prophylactic move. Fischer prevents any backrank problems and prepares to create an escape route for his king if necessary. 18. B4, the breakthrough. Petrosian blasts open the queenside, creating immediate threats and forcing Fischer to respond to the direct attack on his king. 19. C4, Fischer responds with a powerful counterthrust, creating a passed c-pawn. The game has now transformed into a thrilling race between black's attack and white's passed pawn. 19. NF6, the knight is forced to retreat, but it moves to an active square from where it can still participate in the defense and key central squares. 20. QE5, a brilliant centralizing move for the queen. Fischer offers a queen trade on his own terms, knowing that the resulting endgame heavily favors his powerful passed pawn. 20. C5, a tactical error from the usually flawless Petrosian. This move seems to attack the center, but it allows Fischer to create a decisive advantage. 21. QG5, a superb queen move that sidesteps the threats and creates new, more dangerous ones of its own. The pressure is now mounting on black's position. 21. H6, a forced move to deal with the threat on G7, but it wastes a crucial tempo and allows Fischer to execute his winning plan. 22. QXC5, Fischer captures the pawn, and his queen is now a monster on the queenside, supporting the passed pawn and creating multiple threats. 22. QXC5, Petrosian is forced to trade queens, but the resulting endgame is strategically lost for him due to the unstoppable power of white's passed c-pawn. 23. DXC5, the recapture creates a monster passed pawn on the 5th rank. This pawn will be the hero of the game and the decisive factor in Fischer's victory. 23. K7, the black king must become an active piece in the endgame. Petrosian begins the long march to the center to try and create a blockade. 24. C6, the pawn takes another inexorable step forward. It is now a dagger aimed at the heart of black's position, tying down all of his pieces to its defense. 24. RD6, the rook is forced into a passive blockading role. This is the only way to stop the pawn's advance, but it cedes control of the rest of the board to white. 25. RHE1, Fischer activates his final piece with perfect timing. The rook comes to the central file, from where it will support the pawn's final march and create new threats. 25. RxC6, Petrosian captures the pawn, but this is a Pyrrhic victory. It allows the white pawn to reach the 6th rank, from where its power is overwhelming. 26. Re5, a brilliant rook lift. Fischer prepares to swing his rook to the a-file, creating a second front and stretching black's overburdened defenses to the breaking point. 26. Ra8, Petrosian is forced to respond passively, preparing to meet the threat on the a-file. He is completely on the defensive, with no counterplay. 27. B4, a stunning tactical shot. Fischer sacrifices his bishop to deflect the black rook, a deep and brilliant calculation that will decide the game. 27. RD6, Petrosian is forced to move his rook, but this allows white to execute the second part of his brilliant combination, winning a decisive amount of material. 28. Bexa 8, the bishop captures the rook, and the smoke clears to reveal a completely winning position for white. The passed c-pawn is now unstoppable. 28. Rx d1+, the forced recapture with check, but it is a futile gesture. White's king will simply step aside, and the game will be over. 29. Kc2, the king calmly sidesteps the check. It is perfectly safe and ready to support the final, decisive advance of its passed pawns. 29. Rf1, the black rook tries to create some last-ditch counterplay, but it is a lone warrior against a coordinated white army led by a monster passed pawn. 30. Rx5, Fischer's rook swings over and captures a pawn, creating a second passed pawn and completely sealing the victory. The rest is a matter of simple technique. 30. Rxf2+, a final, desperate check, but it only serves to activate the white king even further, bringing it closer to the action where it can support the pawns. 31. Kb3, the king becomes a hero. It marches up the board, a powerful attacking piece that will personally escort its pawns to their queening squares. 31. Rh2, the black rook continues to harass from the side, but it cannot stop the inevitable. The white pawns are too strong and too well supported. 32. C5, the pawn continues its relentless march. It is now only 2 steps away from becoming a new queen, and there is nothing black can do to stop it. 32. Kd8, the black king desperately tries to get back into the game to help with the blockade, but it is far too slow to make a difference. 33. Rb5, a powerful rook move that restricts the black king and prepares to support the pawns from a new, more effective angle. 33. Rxh3, Petrosian grabs a pawn, but it is a meaningless gesture in a completely lost position. He is just playing on, hoping for a miracle. 34. Rb8+, the decisive check that forces the black king into a mating net from which there is no escape. The coordination of white's king and rook is perfect. 34. Kc7, the only legal move, but the king is now trapped on the c-file, where it will be a helpless target for the final, brutal assault. 35. Rb7+, another crushing check. The king is driven back even further, completely cut off from the defense and at the mercy of white's pieces. 35. Kc6, the king is forced onto a horrible square, where it is subjected to a deadly discovered attack. The position is completely hopeless. 36. Kc4, the brilliant and elegant final move. This simple king move is a quiet killer, preparing a discovered attack with the rook that is impossible to parry. Seeing the unstoppable threats, Petrosian resigns.